before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Hello, everybody. Welcome today to the wonderful world of you. Now check it. You have two options. You can eat it or throw it away. See, it's a shame that when you're working hard and doing well, people hate you, yeah. Buying nothing less but the best for yourself. And they really hate you, yeah. You gotta live for you and no one else. Don't let them make you feel like you're not being real. Just live how you wanna live. You gotta do for you. Dig that. If you work hard, play hard. Dig that. And do what you wanna do. Dig that. Just pop the collar, don't let what people say bother you. Dig that. Be perpetrators, I got something to say. Dig that. You can eat it or throw it away. Dig that.
The current king of R&B, Usher Raymond. You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You know, this is the show where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. What I can tell you is that if Usher had released Pop Your Collar at that time frame, instead of what he did do, probably still wouldn't be having this conversation. That single did not work at the time. It's a reason why they pulled it. That look that he had at the time with the scarves and it was a little too flamboyant for 2002. People weren't checking for it. It wasn't getting any airplay, and they pulled it expeditiously. To quote my friend T.I. You know,
they were all wrong.
No, it wouldn't have gone. It wasn't going. It was out there. It was out there. It was getting no love.
They didn't push it as a single.
They started to. They put it out there. There was even a video, I think.
I don't even remember.
I don't know if it ever got shown. They definitely put it out there, and the response was like, like, where's the Price is Right horn?
I feel like they didn't give it enough time for it to even build up. You drop a single before you drop the album. I mean, you got the single playing for at least a good 2 months.
Right. It did not do anything. They pulled it, changed course, and the rest is history.
It sounds like you agree with that.
Yeah, listen, I like it better now. Here's the thing, I like it now, but at the time when it came out, I was like, it didn't fit.
I disagree. That
song
was
about the
fire.
time period. It didn't fit in the time frame. It didn't work.
Nope, that's
it
not
wasn't. True. Here's the thing. It wasn't taking you to the club.
What?
Right?
This
not
song
at that. Not
Come
at that
on.
time period.
We gotta agree to disagree on that one.
Were you in the club at that point, or were you still in elementary school?
I was getting ready to go to the club, but
you were about to get there.
I was about to get there, but I'm telling you, house parties. Oh yeah, that song was popping.
Was it?
Come on. I don't know.
Somebody was popping their collar. I don't know.
But how does everybody know that song then?
Because it was known as one of Usher's biggest flops. Like, really, they considered a change. They were, listen, there are 2 points, 3, that I can remember in Usher's career where people were, like, nervous. The first is between that first and second album when his voice changed. It was gossip. People were talking about it. Oh, my God, his voice changed. Oh, my God, is he going to be able to come back and handle that? Oh, his voice is screwed. What's he going to do? He even talks about it. That is what caused him to get more into his performance bag because his voice changed. And he was like, listen, if I can perform, I can do this forever. You know, it wasn't a part of his initial thing to be a great dancer performer. He started looking around because the voice changed some things up, right? So that's one. The second prime is this almost pop your collar fiasco. Go back and look at anything from the time period, any reviews. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to have it. I'm going to figure it out.
I'm just curious to know what they were thinking about.
I'm going to get that. So that's the second time. And then the third time with the Raymond versus Raymond album, when he married Tamika Raymond, his fans really, really, it was an interesting thing how they turned and responded on him based on how Tamika looked. But that is a conversation for another day. We'll get into that really quickly. Going back, did you have something you wanted to add really fast?
Nah, man, I'm over here looking at the 8701 album, and people are talking trash about Pop Your Collar, but then you got the I Don't Know record with Diddy on there. That Pop Your Collar record is on brand with what was popping on that 8701. I just pushed back on a lot of what
they had to change. They changed course because it wasn't hitting.
I don't know.
It wasn't.
I'm just curious to know what metrics they used.
SoundScan at the time request.
They didn't allow it to marinate.
You don't think so?
Yeah, because that song was fire to me. I was curious why there wasn't a music video, but you're saying that there was, and they pulled it.
I think that they shot it. I don't know if they played it, but I know that like it was supposed to be a single. They did. There were some industry magazines that were out during that time period, and I recall like seeing the long scarf. That's what he was doing. That look, and they changed up the whole look because it was not working. And coming off of the success of My Way, they were like, we can't have this go south. We got to make sure that we can build upon that. And that's what we were left with.
What was the first single? You remind me the first single off
That's
8701?
The Retooled. Yeah. Pop Your Collar was the first single. And I believe, whatever that album was supposed to be called, Retooled. And it ended up being You Remind Me. And that was the best thing they could do.
I don't know if it was the best thing, but,
it was.
I don't know what it was prior to me. Pop Your Collar was a banger. But hey, to each his own.
Okay. I'm not mad at Pop Your Collar. Just at the time, So, side note, really quickly, Megan is still embroiled in drama with Carl Crawford, former LA Dodger, head of 1501 Certified Entertainment. She accused Carl and his associates, including, Jay Prince, G. Robertson, all of these people of draining, her the funds and failing to pay her, right? Carl Crawford is demanding that Megan be sanctioned for knowingly filing and maintaining groundless and frivolous claims, and for requesting that someone else assume management of 1501's finances, which they claim was in bad faith and solely for harassment. Let this girl be free. Like, it's so crazy. Bad business is bad business. But basically, this drama has been going on since March of 2020. And I assume that this is why. He also claims, of course, that the albums that Meg put out for them to satisfy her obligations, Something for the Hotties, they didn't want it counted as an album because it was only 29 minutes. All of these things. So hopefully, she's clear of them. That's why she's putting the next album out independent, probably to avoid having to pay them. And then we'll see her back in the building with a major label. When we come forward, we will get into Mario's comments about the Mount Rushmore of R&B and take a look at who he says should be on there and what you guys think. All of that and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talent, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Discover. This is Danny.
Hi, it's Jen Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great. But with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Are you hungry? 'Cause everyone left after the asparagus sorbet.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashback debit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
I had an important job, and it wasn't just a job, it was keeping my brothers and sisters safe. And coming back, it felt like kind of thrown away. If it hadn't been for Wounded Warrior Project, I honestly don't know if I would be here. It was like, I got my family back again. We all felt the connection, like that brother and sisterhood.
See how Wounded Warrior Project empowers women veterans like Donna by visiting woundedwarriorproject.org/empowerwomenvets.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional grade supplies for every industry, even hard to find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So listen, we all have our favorite picks as far as music goes. You know, who we like in R&B. I would have to say, because I was thinking about this, who is my favorite male R&B singer, right? Especially over the past 20, 30 years, you know, Prince and Michael Jackson aside, I don't count them in this. Not because, I mean, they're on their complete own level. And I just think what they did was a little, you know, not really R&B, not really something. They are their own entities. You know what I mean? It's just different. A little rock and roll, a little R&B, just a little whatever. But I think it was an interesting conversation because I don't know who I would put on my R&B Mount Rushmore. Once again, because I have a hard time narrowing things down. But honestly, if I did it, I would cover like the last 30 to 35 years. I think kind of before that, it's kind of hard to compare those eras. Vastly different to me. What R&B has turned into, you know, through the 90s when hip hop became more fused into R&B, kind of changed it, or at the very least kind of made a subgenre. We don't consider it as such, but if we look at a lot of the rap that comes out now, might have been considered R&B tracks in a way, some of it. You disagree? I'm talking about because there's a lot more musicality to the tracks. You know, there's harmonies in there. There's emotional things of that nature as far as themes and subject matter. You know, it's not just money, chicks, and, you know, money, cash, chicks, and whatever else, right? So I don't know. Fahima in the chat says, Jill, Ice Spice was a musical guest for SNL's first show to return from the writer's strike. It would have been nice to see her in some sketches juxtaposed to Pete Davidson in every sketch. Well, Pete was the host. Here's the thing. Can Ice Spice act? We don't know. I mean, I guess she did okay in that the Dunkin' Donuts commercial with Ben Affleck, but is that her goal? Speaking of Ice Spice, since you brought her up, I'm going to get back to Mario. I'm going to stay on point. I promise you that. I did take something down that I wanted to talk about regarding Ice Spice, so now seems like a perfect time to mention it. Let me just locate it and get to it. because I thought that it was an interesting thing to state. And I actually understand her point if she's very serious about this. So, in an interview with Complex, Ice Spice was discussing her lyrical abilities, right? And she says that there have been many critics who say her bars are very Dr. Seussy. And she said that's on purpose. She said, I wouldn't consider myself a lyricist. Obviously, lyrics go into music, and I do think about them, and I do be having bars. And I'm saying this exactly as she said it. I do be having bars in my music, but they're just super simple. I want them to be digestible. Don't want them to fly over people's heads, and they never catch it. I want people to hear it right away and be like, oh, that was cute. So basically what she's saying is she knows that your comprehension levels aren't that high, and I'm spitting so that it's catchy, you can get it, and keep that thing moving. It's sort of like, here's the thing. Early in Beyonce's career, I would always say, I don't love all of Beyonce's music. I think a lot of her stuff is sing-songy and very basic, right? But people love it for just that reason, right? And it's a skill set to be able to write something that's so simple and catchy. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff that Beyonce would say sometimes. I would just be like, girl, come on. But people would love it. It just, those weren't the songs for me. So, Andy, I feel like you got something to say about what Ice Spice said.
I could look at her and just tell she ain't got bars. So
you not surprised?
I guess I'm not surprised at all. I mean, like, for her to even say, oh, yeah, I got bars, but, I try to keep it. No, you wasn't trying to keep it simple because you really ain't got bars like that. Let's just keep it G.
I think she knows her lane. I think maybe she's saying, again, and I am assuming and jumping all in, I do not pretend to know Ice Spice's skills levels. I certainly don't think that she's showing anything like very elaborate or complex, and I think that's fine. Some people just like, little quick cutesy things, and she did what she set out to do. But, one day she needs to, if she does have bars like that, she should find a cat and kill him because her momentum is slowed down. She lucky Sexy Red with Child. That might slow some of her momentum down so she can get her spot back.
I'm sorry, but none of these females are going to last.
You don't think so?
None of them. Ice Spice, Sexy Red,
What
Sukiyana, maybe Glorilla. Maybe Glorilla. I don't know. I'm starting to warm up a lot more with Glorilla.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else, I don't know.
You don't know. What about Lotto?
I think Lotto's gonna stick around.
Lotto and Spice have a little beef. They're both coming at each other subliminally in their music or whatever. But is it just? Here's the thing. Because we've had it before. We saw, Kim and Foxy went from about to do a Thelma and Louise album to enemies. Nicki didn't really have, she always had pretend haters. We didn't know what ops she was talking to in her songs. Maybe she was talking to men. Not like that. But, now there's a lot more women. So, I like the competitiveness. I'm not mad at it. I like a little, I'm a trash talker. So, I like a little trash talk. I could take it. You know what I mean? Don't go too low because I'm a little vicious, but, I enjoy it. I think that it is healthy for rap. I just wonder, though, again, City Girls got an album coming out this week on the 20th. Raw, Real, W's. I don't think anybody's really, I think the City Girls kind of time has passed. Not like that. They could still do something, but we know Carisha's not really a rapper. We see she's on her talk show, Oprah stuff. JT is on some different stuff. She probably should just go solo, but I don't know how that would. JT can spit, but I don't know how that would work out.
Did you watch the BET?
Because Carisha gave her a personality.
Did you watch the Hip Hop Awards?
I watched some clips. Why? What happened?
Because I saw it this past weekend, and the females definitely did dominate.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just funny that you brought up the City Girls. They were probably one of the best performances.
Here's the thing.
I rocked with it.
Let me tell you why. They used to not have great performances. What I will tell you is I believe time with Diddy. Because let's talk one thing about Puff Daddy. Walk to Junior's and get me a cheesecake. Boom cack. Do it again. He is going to have you performance ready. If you went to that Bad Boy tour in 2016, those were performances. They were on key, on deck, on point, energy up. Puff is going to make sure of that. And I believe he gave some pointers to the City Girls, because I remember, what was it, a Coachella show when they were first coming out. And you were kind of like, And then there was another show a couple weeks later and you were like, oh. So I definitely think that he has sprinkled his little touch in and helped them in that manner.
Definitely refined. I was actually kind of like shocked, but in a good way. I was just like, yo, this is actually dope. And then it was also a reminder. You just said it. Talk about bars. JT got bars. If anything, I don't know about a separation yet, but if they do go solo, they need to go ahead and strap the rockets on JT for real.
No, what I think would happen, and I think it's coming, Carisha is not going to be a rapper. I don't think that she could do this podcast thing. They're going to give her the opportunity. They'll give her the stages. She's shown she can bring in an audience, right? And again, like I said, she has more leverage to ask some of the questions that the fans, especially their fan base, would want to know, because they don't consider her prying or look at her with the same level of distrust as they would another interviewer. So, we'll see what happens. Pretty Brown Mimi is saying good night in the chat, but I just want to list off a couple of her Mount Rushmore listings for R&B. She said Teddy Pendergrass, Johnny Gill, Howard Hewitt, Jeffrey Osborne, Babyface. There's only 4 slots.
Exactly. She gave like 50.
So she also mentioned Rick James, El DeBarge, Ralph Tresvant, Alexander O'Neal. Then she circled back around with the Temptations, the Four Tops, Stevie Wonder, Bobby Womack. My list are more soul singers than R&B, but it's a good start. That's a good question. Do you consider soul singers that came out in the 70s? Because we watched soul, like R&B is really an 80s sort of thing, and then in the 90s it became urban black music, like that was all kind of ground together. What's the difference for you between a soul singer and an R&B singer?
I see the differentiation, but also see it being the same, considering that they're singing. You could say that soul music. I guess you could say R&B is a subsection of soul music.
Okay, fair.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
But they're all the same to me. The fact that they're singing, you could call it soul music, you could call it R&B.
I think the reason, to your point, why R&B would be a subgenre of soul is because soul came first, in theory.
Fair enough.
In theory.
But then what's the difference?
I think, so you think of somebody like Me and Mrs. Jones, Billy Paul, right? I think that is his name. You think about what Al Green was doing with Love and Happiness and stuff like that, right? Juxtapose that with like some of the names that were on this R&B singers list that we're talking about with Mario. Some people hit him back with, guys like Tank, Genuine, Donnell Jones. So those are, for me, that's R&B. It's soul. There's a yearning. There's a longing. There's a difference. Maybe it's songwriting. Maybe it is the feeling that the music presents. I'm not really sure. Soul music feels older and more of a yearning to it, to me.
So the artists that you named off, right?
Which ones? Which way?
The R&B artists.
Mm-hmm.
All I could think about was sex. But then some of the soul songs are sexy type songs.
You think about
too.
Marvin Gaye, I Want You.
Yeah, so
Sexual Healing.
You know what it is too? A lot of the new cats, they take their shirt off. Back then, the soulful cats, they were in 3-piece suits.
Marvin would open that shirt up for you. Teddy Pendergrass too.
You right.
The ladies would get excited.
The whole shirt, or just unbutton a couple.
Sometimes they would unbutton just a couple. Sometimes Al Green on the Love and Happiness album cover was on there shirtless. So no grit burns.
So they the same then.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to figure. I feel like it's a time period, and maybe it is how they were looked at internally from as far as marketing and what was being presented as far as black music. What is black music servicing the radio? I think R&B had a little bit more leeway maybe to be considered crossover.
I think also, I think a lot of it has to do with the actual music and the instrumentation. A lot of soul music, you could hear like maybe they were
organs,
actually singing. Yeah,
things like that. The musicality of it, the whining of the instruments.
Nowadays, I think you said it earlier, there's this hip hop element to R&B music, the Mary J. Blige, you know what I'm saying? TLC, for example, you know, they're singing, but, you know, there's like a little hip vibe to it, you know what I mean? A little up-tempo.
I was excited. I was like, well, I could do that. Let me go try and get a record deal.
Boom, there you go. In a lot of ways, you can make the case that some of R&B artists today can't really sing like that.
Facts. It's more of a vibe. We are in a vibe era, you know what I mean? And if you give the right vibe, it'll work out. I have a friend that does not like Mary J. Blige. Don't feel it at all. And thinks that you are crazy if you are a Mary fan. And the sole reason why is because they believe Miss Blige can't sing.
Male or female?
Male.
He doesn't count.
He doesn't count. But it's like, you know, she can't sing. I don't know what y'all talking about. Don't play that Miss Mary around me because it's not it.
What is he like?
You know, more who does like you know, more classic.
Okay, so he's older.
Little, yeah.
Don't tell me he was the guest that you had over here some months ago.
No. Who? Which guest?
I don't know. We were talking about R&B or whatever. He was over here like, oh, y'all tripping on Shaka Khan? Like, you could tell he was definitely old school.
Old school, yeah. Yeah, like no one, anybody, just, you know, the homie, but brought it up to say, you know, there's people that feel like, I don't care if this person is a legend 30 years in the game. That's not it for me. Forensic accountant says, okay, I'm here. Soul began with Isaac Hayes and his Black Moses period. All right, that's fair. Okay, early 70s, I could see something like that. I mean, that makes sense. Curtis Mayfield, those type of things. I think that there was just a different, you know, you think about Marvin Gaye, Trouble Man. I think there was a different, maybe it was the mixture coming off of the civil rights movement of the 60s and the changes that were happening in the world.
They're naming artists, but I think they're having a hard time that we're having, trying to figure out what are the actual differences. I think somebody said that's what it is. It was soulful, but you could say R&B was soulful too, right?
Yeah, I mean, Urban Spinster says soul was just that, soulful, not a lot of fluff, definitely hardcore singing. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe just, you know, those people that belt it out, like, you know, is Luther Vandross a soul singer or an R&B singer? Maybe we have to break it down to Big Luther and Little Luther to make the difference. Listen, when we come forward, we're going to get into Mario's actual comments, what a social media user had to say back to him, and then we're going to throw out some people that we think might be worthy of being involved in that discussion. All of that and more, you are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Stop hating, wishing, waiting, anticipating for my heat to fade. Hey, lady, I'm a valor. You know you're doing good because they jealous. The only hit you can show I don't get. I don't dare sweat you. Hey, lady, I'm a valor. You know you're doing good because they jealous. The only hit you can show I don't get.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Artillery and rocket fire continue as Israeli troops stand ready to attack at the border with Gaza. As the fighting rages, food, water, and medical supplies are in short supply in Gaza. The death toll has surpassed 4,100 since the Israeli-Hamas war began on October 7th. A vote on Jim Jordan's bid to become Speaker of the House is expected Tuesday at noon. It remains unclear if the Ohio Republican will have the 217 votes needed to secure the position. And the alleged African-American gunman accused of shooting 3 people at the state fair in Texas says he was acting in self-defense. Cameron Turner told the cops that he was trying to protect his family, according to an arrest warrant. Dallas police say the 22-year-old was alone Saturday night. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Prime members save more at your Amazon Fresh store. As a Prime member, you'll save 10% on hundreds of items in store, from organic produce to pantry staples to handcrafted pizza. Head to Amazon.com/fresh locations and find a store near you.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. When the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
At City National, we listen to you.
I want to expand my business and my legacy.
I want to set up the next generation for success.
I want to see my vision come to life.
I want to feel right at home.
Your goals, passions, vision, future. We want to hear it and work alongside you to achieve it. Visit cnb.com to learn more. City National Bank. Here for our clients and communities.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At Susan G. Komen, we believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
After a big dinner, my nighttime heartburn would keep me up. I'd be taking antacid after antacid all night long. But then I tried Prilosec OTC. Just one pill a day blocks my frequent heartburn for a full 24 hours, giving me one-and-done heartburn relief. Without heartburn keeping me up, I could have a restful night's sleep.
Prilosec OTC. One pill a day, 24 hours, zero heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake. and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil Nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's so funny running into you. It has to be 3 years since we last seen each other. Many flashbacks come to mind of the wild and crazy times we used to have with one another. We absolutely didn't care. We would do it anywhere. Eye contact, and it was over.
No, not Blackstreet. Dave Hollister. But you understand why I said Blackstreet. That is the voice. Him and Chauncey. Dang, Dave Hollister had it for a second. He's a soulful voice. I mean, he's R&B, but Dave Hollister is somebody. Jaheim, when he came out, could it be? Those are what I consider soulful voices. I guess songs that sound like 70s struggle love or something like that. I don't know. You know?
So then what about neo soul?
Neo soul is different because, right? They are adding in a spiritual aspect that I feel like wasn't. When we talked about religion or spirituality in soul music, I felt it was very Christian based and, you know, it was more like, God, please, or, you know, it was the begging. When I think about neo soul, and this goes for, you know, the, I guess, R&B side as well as hip hop and rap, I think about, you know, as the sun manifests and my moon rotates, you are my earth, my womb, my seed, you know, that type of stuff. So it's going to have in, you know, those nature references. I was born underwater with $3.06. Yeah, you might laugh, but you did not do your math. I think about things like that. So I feel like with neo soul, it is the music thing, but it is like that bohemian hippie vibe that steps along with it. You know, with soul, I think about, you know, Crown Royal, Yak, Hennessy, Mad Dog, you know, them talking about I'd cried in my drink all night long. With neo soul, you know, they might be doing a little shroom. They might be taking a puff or two. It's a different type of subgenre. Again, on the same spectrum, but just, you know, different people. Forensic Account knew that was Dave Hollister, the Chicago. Shout out to Dave Hollister. I actually, back in the day, right? I always got a story. But back in the day, he was singing when Bobby Brown released his, I guess it would be his third solo album, the white cover. It had the song with he and Whitney Houston on it, Something in Common. The first single was My Name is Brown, Back to the Big, Big Brown. I actually think he says Back to the Big Something Brown that I can't say on radio. Bobby, yeah, the Bobby album. Dave Hollister was singing backup on that album. So we, me and my best friend, what? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna
ask.
New Edition.
Of course, New Edition. But this is the thing. That this is not like Bob was a good friend to us, so we went down to San Diego for that tour. Like, let me tell you, it was Bobby, it was TLC, and Mary J. Blige. We had front row seats. We went to San Diego. Dave Hollister was singing backup on the time. That is my Dave Hollister connection to all of this. Y'all gonna talk about me one day. One of my friends was dating Dave too, so that was the thing or whatever. But we had a good time, and it was lit. It was so much fun. That's when TLC used to be performing. Bobby was giving you a show. That was a good tour. We had a good time. But anyway, so Mario says that he belongs on the R&B Mount Rushmore. And he says the reason why he belongs on there is because of something that we've been discussing here. He said he's very old school. He took in that music, the quality of his voice. Let's hear what he had to say.
I want to know your R&B Mount Rushmore. I'm super curious to know. Guys, girls, whoever.
Beyonce, Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Beyonce, Michael Jackson. Me.
Okay, you. All right, you put in you.
You know why I say that? Hold on, because I grew up listening to so many different types of music, and my mother and my grandmother, so I got like 2 generations of just soul music, you know, just great R&B, you know what I'm saying, that I grew up to. So that's why I say my voice I can do a little bit of everything. I would say the fourth person would be Whitney Houston.
Whitney.
The voice. You know, he said maybe he would, add in Usher or Chris Brown. But listen, he also gave some advice. He says R&B stars should focus only on making timeless music as opposed to chasing hits. Now, let's be clear. Let Me Love You. I believe that slots under that. Have you guys heard? No, not Let Me Love You. That's not the one. What was Mario's first single? Have you ever heard Usher's version of that? Just a Friend? Because Usher originally cut that song and passed on it, and then Mario picked it up. And what I will say is Usher's wasn't bad, but Mario, it definitely was made for him. Forensic Accountant says he's a Mount Rushmore lie. You gotta love confidence, but he would not be on my Mount Rushmore either. Somebody on social media tweeted at him. I guess they saw, that it was running on one of the social sites, Neighborhood Talk, Shade Room, one of them, not sure which one. And they were like naming names. They said Usher, which arguably would be who I would slot in there. Usher, Beyonce, Michael Jackson, Whitney. That sounds like a pretty solid Mount Rushmore if we're going new school, old school, da-da-da-da-da-da, right? But Usher, Genuine, Tyrese. Tyrese is somebody who has a soul voice. That's why he's stressing so hard, wanting to play Teddy Pendergrass, because he does give you that vibe. Donnell Jones, Tank, Joe. The guy was like, and a bunch of others above you, kiddo. Mario's response was, in your reality, laughing out loud. Hey, be for yourself. I can't be mad at that. I just won't say that I necessarily agree, but be for yourself. Forensic Accountant says Mario's not even the best of his era. What I will say, maybe he's still feeling himself from that Versus victory.
He's definitely feeling himself after that Versus.
He did show up and show out.
He did.
And nobody expected him to be able to do much.
Right.
Mario has some banging singles though. Just a Friend, Let Me Love You was a banger. What is
Loving You, loving
Yeah, that.
You,
so
widow.
I mean, he made that stretch.
Braid My Hair. I mean, yeah, he has some songs.
And here's the thing, he performed them clearly, so that's an advantage because a lot of these guys don't have a voice, don't have the endurance. So I will give him that. But Mount Rushmore, baby, please.
Negative.
Please.
Negative.
But I appreciate the effort.
I'm going to say it, though.
Go ahead.
Since nobody wants to say it.
Go ahead.
R. Kelly definitely on the Mount Rushmore.
I didn't even think about that. But it's fair.
I mean, hey, we're programmed to not even acknowledge it, so I get it.
Right. I didn't even... Before all of this happened, Kells was probably one of my favorites. He like, I was banging every album. I was, fiesting. I was stepping in the name of love. I was R&B ooh, 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 ah, 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 ah. I was feeling on your booty.
Bumping and grinding.
Bumping and grinding with those, operatic things. I'm going to tell you, one of the best concerts I ever saw in my life, it's probably 92, 93, was R. Kelly and Salt and Pepper. They went on tour together. Kid Capri was a DJ spinning. Him and Spinderella would go back and forth. Banging concert, Forensic Accountant says we're not going to leave Maxwell out. Soul side, neo soul. I get you.
Okay, then. Throwing Anthony Hamilton.
Anthony Hamilton definitely has the voice for it.
For
Grits and
sure.
Gravy. Charlene.
Because he demolished Music Soul Child in that verses.
Man.
And I was disappointed. I was like, man, Music got this hands down. But performance-wise...
Music had the song, had the catalog. He did not have the
vocal ability.
At all. And music is a different creature right now. But that's another topic for another day. When we come forward, we'll have more on this topic, of course, because, we got more to say. And then I just have a random music question that I want to ask my people, because I love talking music with you guys. So, it's always a good thing. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. So minivans, sedans, JDMs, roll out. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. And with eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. I have to acknowledge once again Forensic Accountant in the chat, because here he goes with another good name that we didn't even consider, that I think, I don't know if Mount Rushmore, but he mentions Aaron Hall and the remix of Don't Be Afraid, one of the greatest slow jams of the 90s. And let me tell you, R. Kelly did take Aaron Hall and Charlie Wilson, put them in a blender, and that's what you got, you know? But again, conversation for another time. Don't Be Afraid. Let me tell you something about that. Have y'all listened to the lyrics of what he says? Really, that song could not come out in 2023. That song sounds like imprisonment and R and a word that goes behind it that we are not allowed to really get into. That's what that song sounds like. You know, lock you up and throw away the key so you can yell and you can hit me. It's just making me more horny. That's what he says.
That boy is a character.
He
Aaron
is.
Hall. Like it might have been like 5 years ago or maybe even 10 years ago. He was on DJ Vlad.
That interview.
I did not realize Aaron Hall was ratchet like that.
Man.
But the dude got vocals, though.
Had.
What you mean? Okay.
The voice is not as strong. Like,
You've been smoking too many cigs, huh?
Maybe. I mean, here's the thing. For most singers, though, being quite honest, you really, really, really have to take care of your vocal cords. You know, it's not something that you have forever indefinitely. Whitney Houston developed polyps on her vocal cords. Remember, at a time, Mariah's gone through some stuff. Michael went through some stuff. Like, it is hard to care for your voice as an instrument, especially if the mic is always on and you've been in this game for decades, you know? Listen, Forensic Account says, oh, the original was terrible lyrically. Listen, that song was my jam. Don't be afraid. I still bump it. I recognized it then. I was like, what are you talking about? You can yell and you can hit me. It's just like, listen, that is that toxic stuff that that people liked back in the day that we can't admit that we like now. And, but we liked it a little bit. That show of force a little bit, It was amazing, And then he followed that up with the I Miss You video with the theatrics. Aaron was doing his Thug Thizzle. Okay, really quickly, I want to play Drake's son has a freestyle. Drake released it. Nepotism at its finest. I don't know. All of these, celebrities' children they've always been there, but it seems like they're stepping out into the forefront even earlier and even in a bigger way. Fahima asked, Jill, what happened to Miguel? Miguel is solid, but I don't know if I'm putting him on Mount Rushmore. But he's solid. I enjoy his work. Forensic Accountant mentions that Lionel Richie had polyps removed a few years ago. It is hard to maintain your instrument as a singer. If your mic is on, that's why I don't come down all the time on people who use backing tracks or vocals. I think you should sing those and re-sing them, but I'm not mad at that because that is a lot of stress to put on your voice, and you want to maintain that. The fact that it wasn't evident at that verses, but the fact that Shaka Khan could come, hit 2 packs of cigarettes, hit that stage and blow people out the water at an advanced age in her career was amazing. Now, we saw maybe the results of that in her versus Stephanie Mills, but it is hard to maintain a voice, and much respect to those that do. Like Ron Isley is at that point now where his voice isn't so good, but he maintained that pristine crystal quality for a very, very long time, and it's very hard to do.
And for R&B acts that go on tour where you have to sing every day, sing more than 20 songs every night, travel, I could only imagine the stress that is on your vocals.
I mean, for sure, allow me to say this. Talking 3 hours a night, sometimes I have to be silent during the day because my voice goes out really easily. And if I don't take care of it, if I'm not getting a lot of sleep or stuff like that, I will be hoarse. And then you guys will be like, you're checking out RSVP. The whisper song, AMSR. We wouldn't be into that. We wouldn't be feeling that. But, I mean, that is one thing that I can say about singers. I crazy respect the dedication, if you have it, to preserving your vocals is something that you have to respect because it's not easy. And I mean, just doing your job, just showing up can limit your time as far as a career. So I told you I had a question that I wanted to ask before we went to commercial. And we won't have time to really, really get into it, so we're going to put a pin in it for another day, but I want to put it out here. And I think I might have kind of mentioned this before, right? Do you consider currently, is there an LA music sound, right? Is there something that you would consider? Do you think LA music travels well? I saw this tweet that says, LA music really doesn't leave LA. As soon as you go past Arizona, it gets quiet, but somehow we all listen to Atlanta, New York, and Florida artists. Think about it. I, for one, think that that is not true. I think that people don't recognize sometimes who LA artists are in the grand scheme of things and don't consider it as LA music or whatever. Like, you know, obviously we can talk about our nips and our things like that, but Kendrick, I mean, he's Compton, but he obviously goes. He crosses those boundaries sometimes. I think he might be one of those that's a one or two listener for people, as we've discussed. But again, maybe not this album, but Doja Cat. Do you know? You don't consider that, Andy?
I don't consider Doja Cat because she's not making typical LA sounding type music.
Okay, what is typical LA? Like G-rap? Like it has to have the G-funk sound, some type of bounce to it, some type of the... That's it? Okay.
Your Tigers, Blast.
Blast is on. I mean, but do you think that Blast, nobody knows Blast past like Arizona, Nevada?
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see that.
Because Dom Kennedy and T-Fly just dropped a record, something I Love Stalker. That didn't get no airplay. My boy had to put me up on that. I was like, whoa, T-Fly and Dom Kennedy got a banger of a song. And they got songs with Nipsey Hussle.
I feel like Dom, something happened. And like I felt like he was on an upswing and people were really checking and he was starting to bubble out, and then it just, I don't know. I also feel like between that 2000 to 2013 time frame when, you know, Schoolboy Q was bubbling and a couple of those things like that, I feel like that's when LA was kind of starting to get their foothold again, and then it's just nothing. Not nothing, but I don't know. It might just be as simple as it's not our turn right now. It could be that, but I do find it interesting that, you know, we're not around. Are people burnt out on, and I'm not even talking about LA because we haven't been dominated. Are people burnt out on the trap thing? Because I feel like there was really a hardcore push for 1 second for Afro beats to take over and kind of be our R&B and a little bit of our hip hop. And I think it was vibing for a moment. WizKid had us in a chokehold, but then there was a backlash. So I don't know. I just think it's quiet for LA in a weird sort of way as far as the music scene right now. And one of the things I always talk about is, where is our West Coast, Sweetie counts, but not really, but where is our LA, I should say, female rapper that dominates? We've never had one. I'm listening. I know you guys, I'm listening.
They're bubbling. Tap into that Gina Views.
That's right.
I forgot that. We make them rap. Gina Views, she got a whole bunch of female rappers, all from Cali, maybe one from Washington, but tap in. They out here. Cam and China, popping. Okay. Kayla James, popping.
All right. I mean, because I want to get behind a West Coast female. I know that's so small, but I do. I like supporting my coast, but I support all female. Listen, thank you, VIPs, for locking in tonight. It has been a great time. When we come forward, you will hear the best of KBLA. Make sure that you are locked in tomorrow night, 9 p.m. We're going to have... We're scheduled to have a great guest. It's going to give us some old basketball history, some college legendary history. We'll see. Hopefully it comes through. We'll get into that tomorrow. But, of course, more trending topics and headlines. Thank you again. I appreciate you. You know, have an amazing night. And get ready for more conversation tomorrow. No Will and Jada Smith, though. We will be leaving that behind for tomorrow. Thank you for checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe.
Side by side with me.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining